This is The Art of Startup War, and I am your host, Brian McMahon. I am the sensei here at Expert Dojo, the fastest growing startup accelerator in Southern California. Now, in the first 2 seasons, we answered your questions about how to find investment for your business. We brought in the most accomplished investors in startup in America. You can find it on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Now, here in season 3, we're flipping the script. We're going to hear real stories from entrepreneurs who are in the trenches today. In these episodes, we're going to take our guests through the storytelling model called the entrepreneur's journey. We'll hear about what sparked their call to entrepreneurship, help they received along the way, forces they overcame, dark times and revelations. So join us every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and start the week a smarter entrepreneur. Okay, it's Brian. It's 10 o'clock. It's Tuesday morning. I'm back. I'm here with my good friend, Dustin from Botcopy. Me and Dustin go back a long time. He was right here at the beginning of the dojo when we started it all off, helped us build all of the programs that we've done, was a massive part of all of our success, and a great buddy of mine. Welcome. What's going on, bud?
Oh, not much. Glad I came back to the freezer with you, Brian.
It's good to be. It's always kind of surreal, right?
Never thought I'd make it back here.
Dude, I'm in a freezer again. But you were part of the putting together of the freezer.
Oh, yeah. I stuck half these styrofoam pieces up.
So tell me, look, we're going to go through the hero's journey, right? We're going to
Okay.
go through the hero's journey for you. Normally, back in the day, it was you and me helping the startups get to the place they were going to get to and advising them and working with them and training with them. But then you moved on to doing what you have now got, which is your true passion, which is in the bot space. And how do you actually take and help people change the way they work, I suppose, on a whole new format. So I want to, before we get to Botcopy, I want to talk a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur, because you've always been an entrepreneur, from real estate to working with me to working with bots. What was it that brought you on that journey, as opposed to getting some boring, horrible job?
Man, that's such a good question. I have no idea. You know, you look back now doing it and you kind of think, should I have done that? You know, should I have gone for the regular, more secure job? Because there's definitely points where you kind of wake up and you think, you know, oh shit, you know, it's only me.
What the fuck?
What did I get myself
Oh my god! I got 6 hours to bring money in.
It is, you know, as beautiful as it sounds to make your own schedule and not have to climb a corporate ladder. You know, sometimes that road is not fun.
Yeah, and these are those opposing forces, and there are opposing forces for all of us every single day, like every single day. You were here with me. I mean, we were together at the dojo at the start. How many times did we reach a stage where we really weren't 100% sure if we were going to be able to come back in the next day?
Every day.
And so we have to be crazy to do this, right?
Yeah. You know,
It's like an addiction, right? I like to think of it as a good addiction.
yeah, you know, it started with me when I got into real estate. I was able to I figured out how to structure my own company, bought my first home. It was a nightmare, but it ended up selling and it was off from there. You know, I made my own paycheck. That really felt good to me.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to make the next one come in was always a challenge. And it was a challenge on, is there a problem that I can solve that people are willing to pay me for?
And what was the problem in real estate?
The problem in real estate is it's not easy. You know, as much as you see some of these, I focus on residential rehabs, had a few commercial properties, but the whole process has like 10 different parties that you communicate with at once. And it's a nightmare between selling the home, getting it financed, managing crews to fix it up, understanding like what to buy and how to make money on it. There's so many different things, and it's like a time management process that I jumped in it pretty early, and it was a whirlwind for me, and really enjoyed that because every day I was communicating with like 10, 15 different parties, and I'd never talked with each other before, but somehow I had to make them figure out how to get my deal to work.
Yeah, and you made that a really good success. When we first met, you were coming off the back of really just buying, fixing up, flipping multiple properties. I think you had like 6 or 7 on at any one time, and you just reached this really good point, and then came in here. We built this up together, and then Botcopy. So what was it? And look, so you're amazing. Just to put perspective for everybody who's listening, Dustin's a genius when it comes to anything creative, anything technology, anything where it's innovation and it's future focused, right? Where I suck, which is why we were such a good team. So I can see why you would go towards chatbots as the new form of communication. But what was it that just made you go all in on it?
So I saw a lot of funding going into AI and bots, and jumped kind of into the space. We had a company here at Expert Dojo, Swelly, that were heavily involved in making it work. But the copywriting wasn't that great. And in this whole space, if it was going to move forward, needed really good copywriters and also people to drive it to the next step, because there's a bunch of chatbots created on Facebook Messenger that they're just kind of shit at the end of the day.
Hang on a sec.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people listening are thinking right now, oh, what's a chatbot? I mean, there'll be some people who know, but what is a chatbot in itself? And those people who do know might think, oh, well, you just use it on Messenger. But it's way more complicated and intricate than that. Maybe just a quick dummy's guide to how does it all work?
Chatbot's a conversational experience between a computer and typically it's a customer, but we've been building them for employees and things like that. So usually it's simple FAQs to begin with, like someone asks a question, and then we have programmed responses for that chatbot to answer. Now, instead of being an FAQ like you would see on a website, there's a means to an end on these conversations. So if you ask a question and you're looking for some particular response, the chatbot's not only going to answer that, but say, can I help you move forward? Is this something you would like to purchase?
Yeah.
You might ask a question about how much does this program cost? And instead of just saying, $185 per month, it would say $185 per month. Are you ready to get started?
I actually, funny, yesterday I had an experience with Facebook. We did a boost of a post on Facebook. We got a message back in our Facebook inbox that said, would you like to see the results of your boost? And I'm like, yeah. And I clicked yes. And then it brought up the post of the results. And then afterwards, literally 3 or 4 seconds after, it said, hey, what do you think of these results? What did you like out of these 3 options here? And then I clicked one of the options. I said, oh, well, I really like the reach it got. Oh, well, if you'd like to go to that reach. So it almost took me through 6 layers of the conversation with them without a human being present. And genuinely, it was an okay conversation.
Yeah, and they're getting better and better. That's from Facebook. They do it really well. We look at that kind of stuff all the time. They're trying to get you to purchase more ads, right?
Yeah.
And walk you through really how it's working in a nice way. Instead of them spending money for a Facebook employee to call you, they can highlight like how it worked, what happened, what to change for next time. And usually, you end up purchasing because it was nice. It was a good experience. You didn't have to have a human there to walk you through that stuff, nor did they have to spend money on a human being there to walk you through that stuff.
Yeah. And I like it. So it has to be, chatbots are not those phone calls you're getting through from automated people that bug you. They're a conversation that is a conversation that you want to get involved in to get you a deeper level of understanding in an area that you wanted to know about anyway. I like the way you brought up the frequently asked questions, the FAQs earlier on. So where do you see chatbots going in the future? And then talk a little bit about, you went from not being in that space at all to being absolutely all in on it.
Yeah, we kind of just dove right into the deep end. I kind of learned from you. I just told everybody that we were the best writers in the world. Right?
Yeah, right. Monday,
maybe
don't know much
ever.
about chatbots. Well, actually, it wasn't you didn't know about chatbots because you'd been really deeply involved at Swelly.
Yeah.
Swelly built up millions of followers. Literally, more people were interested in their chatbot that were interested in their app or their website, right? So you'd been involved in them, involved with copying them. So you knew some stuff, right? But then next day you said, okay, now I'm going to set up the greatest copywriting organization in the world.
Yeah, Swelly really triggered it. They came to us. They had 3 Austrian really good guys writing copy for 18 to 25-year-old women here in the U.S.
Yeah, of which they knew nothing about.
Well, Peter might know a little bit. I don't want to nag on him too hard.
Yeah.
But I was able to give the whales like some fun personality.
Yeah.
And had some puns in there. I was like, stop blubbering around, and it was fun. I was just like, oh, this might not work, but this was really fun doing. And then we launched it the next day, and over the next month, their retention went up like 20 to 30%. Their growth shot through the roof. And, that's thanks to their team because they've got a great team behind them. But the copywriting I saw was very powerful. And I knew that, if it worked here, where else could we tap into? And there's enterprise clients that we can help with. We always look at, the Geico Gecko or the Dos Equis commercial, The Greatest Man Alive.
Yeah.
Those are great examples of not a brand, but like a branded personality.
Yeah.
And where most of those like are limited to or are just like expensive ads, like video ads. What if these personalities can actually become interactive?
Yeah.
And that's what kind of like got me excited.
Yeah. So one thing is helping a company increase their retention by providing great copy. And then I know you built a team around it, which I want to talk about in a little bit as well. Another thing is starting off your own company, which is going to be a high-level consultancy to help companies everywhere when they don't know you and they've never heard of you before. Can you talk a little bit about maybe the difficulties and the challenges that you faced in those early months trying to build that up?
Yeah, so we working here at Expert Dojo, I think in 2016 or 17, we coached over, 1,500 different startups, and I started to see this same thing over and over again. And it was like great ideas or, some were actually not that great, but just wanting to raise as much money to see if it would work.
Yeah.
And I at the end of the day, I just didn't believe in that's the strategy that I want to take.
Yeah. You want to build a great business first.
I want to see if people actually pay me for what I think will work.
I love that. And please, everybody take that. For those of you, I know a few of you out there always taking notes on the really important points. That's an important point right there. The only market validation in the world is a market validation where someone actually has to provide a currency for what you're providing. It doesn't always have to be money. It might be users. It might be actions they do. But in your case, it was money, right? Would they pay for me to write copy for them?
And look, I'm not the greatest copywriter. And my partner, Rob, is an amazing copywriter. But I was able to do what I did with Swelly and knew that there was something there. So it's not easy to come out of the gates and just say, hey, we do this, pay us. This is a really good idea. But if you stick with it, it's just a sales cycle, and you work. You roll up your sleeves. And
man, it's hard. I actually think the market validation, even though you and I believe it's the most important thing on the planet, it's also the bravest friggin' thing on the planet, because hypothesizing and talking about it and getting people to tell you you're awesome and having your mom say that you're the best in the world, like that's a much easier route, right? It's like, oh my God, everybody's told me I'm great today. But actually somebody having to give me money for a product or a service that didn't exist 2 days ago, that's hardcore, because they don't give you money, it means you suck. Like there is no gray area. It's a yes or no.
Yeah, and the pitch changes every time someone, tells you no, until you really figure out what's worth it. How can I show you that I'm willing to work, put in the hours to make this work, and it's going to, at the end of the day, bring you more money because I believe in it, and if it doesn't, even in the beginning, we said we'll give you your money back.
Yeah,
that's what we had to do. We said
just
give
praying
us,
they don't
give
ask
us
for it.
Fucking chance. What a right!
Oh my God! Don't take it back, please.
We had this Russian client. They asked if I could write this like Japanese sexy ninja warrior woman, and yeah. I was a yes man. All of these, anything. I was like, yeah, of course.
That's my domain expertise.
That's actually my MySpace, old name.
So did you have any, so let's talk about supporters and people who helped you and worked with you and helped bring it in, because obviously it's challenging. I love the focus on market validation. I also love the focus that you kind of glanced over, which is on building team. So on filling skill sets where you knew those areas were really important. Rob, you are a great writer, by the way, but Rob is a sensational professional writer, okay?
Yeah.
He had been involved in professional writing for 10 years. So we can glorify ourselves like you and me and other people and say we're good, which we are, but there's a level between good and brilliant that helps have a team. And you filled that skill set with Rob, and then you fill the skill set with the developer as well. So I want you to talk about maybe the supporters who helped you at that stage and helped you build it up before we get to the abyss of the toughest moments that you faced.
Yeah, well, I wanted people to recognize that it wasn't just me. I think that's very important. And whether it's just me on the team or just the community that I have around, the community at Expert Dojo, the people that I've met through Expert Dojo. And I needed things that I'm not great at, because at the end of the day, if I'm spending a ton of time on things that I'm not great at, then I'm not really moving the ball forward too quickly.
Yeah.
So it was really important for me to find an amazing writer that also had experience exiting a company. Rob had exited Mad Mimi in 2014, which is amazing.
Legend.
And it was just almost a guy that I could lean on for, business advice as well. So I thought that was sound to have a partner. And then the other aspect was I needed UX help. These conversations, UX, UI, and development, these conversations are complicated. And while it's fun for me to go walk into a business and help pitch like a brand, like a strategy on their entire process, I would say, look, from the moment someone touches your website to them paying for something, walk me through each point, how it works, how much money are you spending on each point, and time.
Yeah.
And let's see if we can cut down the money and time. And that entire process I'm really good at now, but my other partner, Alex, is incredible. So I needed someone that knew UX, knew UI way better than I did.
Yeah.
And that's where we kind of started. So we could go and say, look, we've got an amazing team. Here's our portfolio. Rob's written for a handful of big corporate clients that we could slap on our website. And we were off to the races.
And did you have any real detractors at that stage, people who were taking away from what you were doing, making it difficult? What was the journey like?
So we wanted to stay super niche in the beginning and just writing and get paid enough to keep writing. And the space is still pretty young, so everybody was trying to help each other. And there's not too many. Even the competition is looking to help move the ball forward, because at the end of the day, if we can expand the market share together, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Things are starting to change. Google, Amazon, they're pumping a ton of money into the AI space.
Yeah.
If you watch the World Series recently, every single ad was AI.
Yeah. AI being artificial intelligence for everybody who's listening. But nobody really tried to hurt you at the start? Nobody tried to slow you down?
Well,
feel free to shout them out. I get some of my Irish brothers to go over and pay them a little visit.
Yeah.
Just say hi.
I mean, it's not. I went from, helping startups to, suiting up and walking into enterprise companies and trying to pitch them that
Sucks.
I could write better than they could.
Yeah.
And I can, I think. But at the end of the day, it's just a completely different sales cycle. So it was very frustrating in the beginning, going through, which team to talk to, them figuring out what budget it's coming from. And it was just a different sales cycle that I'd been used to. So that was hard, because we had a lot of pushback from, an enterprise client having no idea where this budget was going to come from, because it was something they haven't done before. They got websites. I wasn't pitching them a website.
Yeah.
They got marketing. They got all this stuff that if you go to them, they get it, So then it's just like a credibility and what have you done?
But chatbots is this thing that somebody may have mentioned in a board meeting, but nobody knows what to do with.
Yeah.
They just have to discuss it.
They don't know what to do it. There aren't like crazy case studies. Everybody asks us for, a case study. And at the end of the day, like, it's been around for 2 years. So digging up those case studies is a little difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
So you go in and you're pitching, like, you got to look at people who trendsetters or early adapters to technology and want to set themselves off.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's really hard. It's just something that they're not used to, so they're probably going to say maybe later.
Yeah, and really, you bring up again another huge point, which is as we're starting companies, if we move to the corporate space or the enterprise space, they're more worried about losing their job than they are worried about bringing the greatest next innovation to the world, because they're going to get paid the same salary at the end of the month that they would have got paid no matter what they do, unless they do something stupid and dumb and they bring their company on a place that they wouldn't go to, such as working with an early stage startup who are just beginning, who haven't worked with any clients before, and have a team that are just put together like 2 or 3 weeks beforehand. And I think this, for me, in many of the companies that I've been involved with before, has been an incredibly difficult entry point. Like, it's not any one company, it's all companies, because you're going through a virtually impossible door of trying to convince people that you have the team in place to be able to do what they need to do, when really we know we're just at the beginning. Would you say that was the lowest moment as you're building it through, or more of a learn?
So, both. And that's such a good analogy. There's always a back way in. And that's kind of the exciting part to me sometimes, because if other people can't figure it out or get in, and I do, well, then that's a great piece of market that we can kind of move forward with, prove that our case study actually worked, and why in the beginning we were even so willing to say, look, if it's not working, we'll give you your money back. We don't want you mad at us. We don't want anything like that. But figuring it out is the exciting part to me. There's a need. People are spending a ton of money on it. We can make the experience better. You just have to pay us, and that's the part where the negotiations and things like that come into play, and longer sales cycle. But once you figure it out and you stay patient, it ends up working.
And I think part of what makes that such a challenging, that part of the initial sales process, is you go into these companies, right? You build your product. So far, you've built this incredible product. You found there's an incredible need in the market. You've done everything right with all of the skill sets around you to make sure that you've got your copywriter, you've got your developer, you have a proper team that can deploy the product that you're promising people that you can deploy. Then you go into meetings. And with these enterprise folks, and again, I want this to be third biggest note for everybody to take away today, is it would be okay if they just told you were a jerk at the beginning, right? If you just walked into the meeting and they said, you know what, we've looked at Chatbots, we've looked at you guys are too new, it would be cool. But that's not what happens. What happens is they get all excited, they say, yeah, it's going to change stuff, and then you look like it's all going to close, and then they disappear. And to your point there, it's about recognizing that this is more of a journey than a sale in the first meeting. And you are going to have to approach them from different doors with different people in the organization, and you will get there, but only the ones who are prepared for the long battle are going to be able to break through.
Yeah. It's so easy to get your hopes just destroyed in that first meeting when you walk in and you're just like, you're doing the robot afterwards, like, thinking that went really well. And then you never get the call back or anything. So it's just part of the journey, and you have to make sure that your pipeline isn't just that one person.
Yeah.
And what we typically do is you've got large enterprises, which we look at as like whales, big clients, maybe $1 million contracts. And then we have mid-tier clients, which, might be $100,000 contract. And then we've got the small fish, which are easier to close, are easier to work with, and a lot less money. So you have to have more fish. But as long as you
spread your pipeline, spread it on different levels, make sure at the beginning you're totally focused on bringing in as many as you possibly can, and assume that the bigger they are, just the longer it's going to take. It's not that they're all going to fall. It's just that it might take 3 years.
Yes.
Or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, who knows?
Yeah.
But you have to have that smaller and medium and large size pipeline to make sure that you balance it out.
And in the beginning, you have no idea really what sectors to go after, because you see a use case for everybody who has customers, and kind of like going after everyone in the beginning seems like a really bad strategy, and it is. But you got to figure out who what sectors are more aggressive, are more forward thinking, and want to invest in this kind of futurism, and then stay with them. If you land one client, maybe it's an insurance client or something like that, continue going after all of them. Don't just stop when you get one and then move on to like a real estate, build, or a banking build, or a startup build. Like if you figure out that you have value with one person, that's an amazing case study that you can bring to that next person in that sector, and continue and grow.
I love this. You're measuring, developing, and then executing. Measuring, developing, executing all of the time. And that's a pretty big revelation. So for me, it's funny. My dad used to say, never assume, because it will make an ass out of you and me. You get that? Like ass, and then you, and then me. You get it?
Yeah.
Like it all ties into assume. Yeah, it's brilliant, right?
It's great.
It's fucking genius.
Your dad's a good
Every
guy.
now and again, I come up with some small stuff, right? So
You said that was your dad. Stealing it from your dad?
Hey, come on! I got none of my own material. Right? So by not assuming, by saying my market is broad, and I'm going to look at the small, the medium, and the big. I'm going to go after them all aggressively. I'm going to market validate myself at the beginning. Here's this is the first podcast I think that we've had this, but I love this. Mm-hmm. It's a podcast about investment where we're not talking about investment. We're talking about generating revenue, which becomes the investment in yourself to bring the company further.
It gets to this, and if you do tackle a new startup or a company in this way, you get to a point where, how do you turn this into a software company? We all get this itch not to be an agency anymore. When an agency actually is a great way to live, you can make a lot of money. But there are things that, because you've got your finger on the pulse, you might be an agency in the beginning, but that's just you're a research company. You're going out and working. You're figuring out what exists, what doesn't exist. And instead of waiting around and interviewing or pitching to hundreds of investors, you're pitching to hundreds of people who you're finding out if they're going to pay you or not.
Yeah.
And then if you can slowly pivot them paying you into software where they can do it themselves and go for it, then in my opinion, that's a great way to build a company in the way that we're taking Botcopy.
Beautiful, beautiful. Where do you see Botcopy going over the next couple of years? And what are the other pearls of wisdom that you would pass on to everybody else who's starting a company? And by the way, I know there's some people here who are listening and are thinking, all right, Dustin and Brian, I get it. Like, you built this based on finding customers. Congratulations. It was really smart. Like, you built a basic website. You got a great team around you. You were able to fund yourself a little bit to get yourself going. But I'm building some really strong tech product where we don't necessarily get revenue through. But I still think the principle of what you're talking about is tremendously important. Focus on acquiring customers, and the more you acquire customers, the more notoriety you're going to get, and the more notoriety you get, the more people are going to want to invest money later on in your business as you grow.
Yeah, so we look at every penny that comes in. At the end of the month, we look at how can we, because this is what we do. We try to automate businesses with chat experiences. So we look at that the same way for our own business. Every penny that comes in, we allocate at least 20% onto our own technology to automate what we're building. And
Wow.
and if we continue to do that, we slowly roll ourselves into having a really nice software that other agencies that are doing the same thing that we are doing can use and take off with.
Yeah.
So I think over the next year or two, year to 5 years, we've just finished our first piece of software. We build most of our conversations on Google's platform. It's called NLP, which is Natural Language Processing, Dialogflow.
Yeah.
It's complex, but it's really fascinating. The things that you can do on it are ridiculous. It's like AWS, cloud that can chat. So you type in a sentence, and it can understand the structure of that sentence in over 1,000 different ways.
Yeah. Why is it important for companies to have it? Like anyone. Why would anybody want to have chatbots on their website? I mean, we're going to put it on the Expert Dojo website. I know the reasons, but I just wanted to share with everybody else out there for everyone who's not just looking for this as an investment, but also looking for tools to help their business grow?
Because at the end of the day, people want information relatively quickly, and having a conversation is almost one of the most natural ways to get that.
Yeah.
We can build a beautiful website, and you should.
Yeah.
But every single website's different, so there's like each customer has to go through this different experience on how to get that. And I would say 90% of websites are great up until after the sale.
Yeah.
So they're built to be this amazing splash page.
Yeah.
Like all its purpose for, and again, this is for most websites, is just to sell. After you purchase, the back end, the dashboard, and the customer experience
forget about them.
Is very limited. So having a chat for, okay, let's say your subscription, is incredibly valuable for someone who's already paying you, just to give them, something to reach out. And if it doesn't recognize what they're asking for, then at least set up a meeting with a human, because, that's, they're paying.
Yeah, I love it. Automation. The problem we have today, there's too much stuff coming at us. There's too much. Mm-hmm. Like it's now 10 o'clock in the morning and I have at least 40 or 50 emails sitting in my inbox. I'll have at least 5 or 6 phone calls which require calling back. There's just too much coming at us. So the more that we can automate and create efficiencies within our company, the better it possibly is. Mm-hmm. And then I want to finish, if I can. I love how you've taken your company and now you're at a stage where the company is really successful. You're our number one go-to company for chatbots for any of the companies that we work with here. I know you're working with some of the biggest companies in the world that you've broken through to. It's a really, really great and inspirational story for people who are listening to it. But just on that journey of getting from there to here, what are the biggest tips that you can give to companies on creating their journey going forward? Stop. No, I mean, say to them, stop. You're like, what?
Yeah. Stop. Don't start. Breathe.
Don't start.
It's not easy. So don't go into it thinking that you're going to have beer and pizza all the time and it's going to be fun. It's not. It's not as glorious as you would think, like owning your own company or having a business card that says CEO on it. It's serious. You get yourself in, a couple of months ago, we were thinking, because we had spent for the first time a lot of money on our software. We're going to have the only Dialogflow agent that can live on websites, through our widget now. And that put us in a financial, pickle where, one month we were doing so well, and the next, we started spending money on our own software because we believe and we want to be a software company, but there's so many risks every day, and you just need to figure out, which ones are worth taking and what the outcome is going to be if it goes bad, because it will. At the end of the day, it will go bad, but how do you rebound, and how do you make sure that if it does go bad, that it won't happen again? Yeah.
So again, just learn from where you're coming from. I think, again, really powerful. Well, listen, mate, Dustin, it is a pleasure, as always, to be chatting with you. I mean, it's not that we don't chat. Normally, it's just over beer. I think it's really nice to have a conversation over water.
Yeah,
in a fridge. But it's great. How can people contact you? Either anyone who's looking for inspiration on how to take your business from zero up to really great heights where you're massively respected brand in the community, or just for people who are actually looking for a chatbot for themselves.
Yeah, for sure. So my email is just dust@botcopy.com. I'm here at Expert Dojo at least once a week, so you can ask anybody here how to get a hold of me as well. Hope to hear from you guys soon.
Awesome. Okay, listen, mate, thanks for being the rock star that you are. Congrats on everything that you've managed to achieve. And yeah, I know you're going to be around the dojo for a long, long, long time to come. Thanks for joining us. If you love the podcast, please empower your circle by sharing these stories. The Art of Startup War is brought to you by Expert Dojo. And remember, we invest in startups, $50,000 checks. Make sure you apply on our site if you are one of those great entrepreneurs looking to bring your company to the next level. As far as the Art of Startup War is concerned, we are back every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. So remember, Check out the new episodes. If you want to find out what the investors think, check out season 1 or 2, but make sure you join us every single week.